I prepared this brief recorded lecture to introduce the subject of consideration before you begin reading Chapter 8 and the related case studies. We are continuing our discussion of contracts and specifically what is necessary for a court to enforce a contract. You have already studied and discussed the first two elements at length. In this video, I will introduce some concepts, thoughts, and questions that I believe will assist you in learning and applying the concepts of consideration. As you already know, consideration must exist or a court will not enforce an agreement as a legal contract. So why is consideration required? Recall that we discussed the fact that courts are generally not in the business of enforcing gifts. A court will not enforce a promise to give a gift when the giver has decided not to honor the promise, nor will a court give aid to someone wanting the return of a gift already delivered. A gift is defined as a transfer of property or a promise of such a transfer without consideration or something given in exchange. Thus, the element of consideration is used by a court to distinguish an enforceable contract from an unenforceable agreement to give a gift. With the purpose in mind, hopefully this definition of consideration makes some sense. Consideration is the bargain for exchange. It is the purpose of the contract. Parties give something to get something. Consideration is the requirement that each party confer a benefit or suffer a detriment which was bargained for and given as a result of the agreement. Consideration can take different forms. It can be a promise. Typical contracts exchange a promise for a promise. Example, I promise to pay Bob $100 and Bob promises to deliver his bicycle. We have studied bilateral contracts. The consideration is the exchange of a promise to pay for a promise to transfer ownership of a bicycle. The promise can also be to suffer a legal detriment, to refrain from doing something that you are legally entitled to do. I promise not to drink alcoholic beverages for 1 year in exchange for a promise from Bob to pay $500. I have a legal right to drink, so I suffer a legal detriment when I make the promise. A promise can be exchanged for an act or a thing as well. When there is a unilateral contract, recall what the bargained exchange is. It is the act which is also the acceptance of the initial offer to contract. Example, I promise to pay $200 if my field is mowed by Saturday. When Bob mows the field, he is given the benefit of a mowing, and I have exchanged my promise to pay. It is an enforceable unilateral contract. Please be sure to keep in mind that the court generally does not consider whether the deal was fair or a bad deal. The law generally allows the parties to assign their own value to the consideration that they are giving and receiving. The court doesn't care that Bob does not receive any tangible financial benefit from my promise not to drink for a year. As you read the cases and try to decide why a court found legally sufficient consideration or found no such consideration, ask yourself these three questions. What benefit did the party confer? What did the party give up that the party previously had a legal right to do? Did the party change his or her legal obligations? In example 1, a promise of payment is given in exchange for a promise not to drink until the person reaches 21 years. One person made a promise of payment altering their legal position. There was consideration. What did the person promising not to drink until age 21 give or give up? The answer is nothing. There was a pre-existing duty not to drink until age 21 established by statute. There is no consideration by the second person and therefore no enforceable contract. Both parties must give consideration for an enforceable contract. In example 2, a promise is given to pay a bonus at year end if the company feels it is appropriate in exchange for the promise of employees to give work at the company until the end of the year. By promising to work until the end of the year, the employees give a benefit consideration. Does the company actually change its legal position by promising to pay if it feels that it is appropriate? No. It has bound itself to nothing. This is an illusory promise. There is no consideration by the company. There is no contract which may be enforced by the company or the employees. In example 3, a promise to complete a contract to build a house as required by the contract if an additional $10,000 is paid to the contractor exchanged for a promise to pay the extra money. Does the contractor who already has a contractual duty to build the house alter his legal position? No. The contractor already has a legal duty, a pre-existing duty, to build the house. There is no consideration for the promise to pay more. There there's no enforceable contract. I hope these thoughts help, and I look forward to our discussions in class.